right now, it's my pleasure to bring Max Smith, Communications Director of the Washington Metrorail Safety Commission, to WIN TV. Max, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We need a little bit more volume on your side. I don't know if it's us or you, because we know you're there. We just want to make sure we can hear you.
Sorry about that. How about if I bring the computer closer to myself here?
That certainly does work. Okay. That's fantastic. Thank you. Tell us about the role of the Metrorail Safety Commission. What do you all do? What are you about?
We're very new, only a few years old. We're the independent entity responsible for direct safety oversight of WMATA Metro Rail. So just the trains. We don't have oversight over the buses. We were created by DC, Maryland, and Virginia with the approval of Congress and the president to serve in this role, which is kind of different because, you know, obviously we have 3 jurisdictions. In many other parts of the country, a state just performs this function themselves, but we have multiple, well, we have 2 states in the district, unfortunately still just the district. So we were created in this separate kind of way, but essentially what we do is every day we're either, we have various people out watching and looking at how things are happening in the Metro system, looking at their data, talking to people who work for Metro, and providing this oversight. Metro is the one that does the work to make sure the system is safe, but we have the power to direct them to make safety changes. We do audits to identify where there are gaps in safety, and then we can require them to make corrections, and then they develop and carry out those corrective action plans.
It's interesting that you say that you all were established just a couple of years ago, and Metro's been around for a long time. Is there anything that precipitated the need to create a safety commission, or it was just time?
There were a few things. So one thing were some changes in federal law and the requirements to get federal funding for the jurisdictions. Another was that this was kind of kickstarted to replace the older Tri-State Oversight Committee that existed previous to the FTA taking direct safety oversight in 2015. And the FTA held direct safety oversight until the WMSC was certified in March 2019. But obviously, the 2 biggest kind of things that pushed for this at various points were the 2009 Red Line crash near Fort Totten and the 2015 smoke accident near L'Enfant Plaza, where Carol Glover was killed.
Yeah, wow. So let me ask, because, you know, in October, you know, we pulled a bunch of trains out of service, and the service was really cut back for quite some time, of course, impacting commuters, what commuters are out there, not a lot due to COVID. But was that, were you all involved in the necessity to make sure that that happened?
That's correct. Yeah, we ordered Metro to take those rail cars out of revenue service, out of passenger service, based on what we had learned in the investigation into the derailment that had happened a few days earlier. So we responded to the scene of the derailment. Later, the National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB, decided to respond as well. So we're participating in that investigation and leading some aspects of that investigation. And based on information we gathered, and some special inspections Metro conducted, we learned of what appeared to be a potentially pervasive safety problem in terms of the wheels not being the proper distance apart or not staying the proper distance apart on the rails. And obviously, you know, the rails are supposed to stay at one distance and the wheels have to be at that same distance or the respective distance to stay on the tracks. And so there have been a number of cases where it's been identified that on these cars, the wheels are not staying in that alignment. And that's one of the things that led up to this derailment that occurred. And so we ordered Metro to take the cars out of service until they can assess the cause and implement a plan and develop a plan under our oversight that would you know, mitigate the risk of this happening again while people are on the train.
And I mean, it's nothing like having a couple of layers of safety on any kind of transportation structures that, you know, that we rely upon, and so many people do rely upon. I'm curious about the commission, though. How many people serve on the commission, and what qualifications do you look for? Because it sounds like it's a very specialized area. So how do you make up? How is your commission made up?
So our commissioners, who are appointed by DC, Maryland, and Virginia, have lots of experience in public transportation or safety or both or finances, because obviously we as an independent agency have to be responsible with the funding we get from the jurisdictions as well. So we have people like our chairman, Christopher Hart, who's a former chair of the NTSB. We have people who have been the heads of or vice presidents of national public transportation groups. We have Robert Bobb, who is one of the district's financial experts who's helped us stand up and have clean financial audits from our own perspective and get the funding we are entitled to from the federal government. At the staff level, there are some federal training programs, transportation safety and security professional and public transportation safety certification program that include a number of classes from the FTA and other experience to make sure that we all have the knowledge and expertise we need in the subject area. And most of the people who work for the commission also have backgrounds working either at Metro or at other places in the fields that they're experts in, such as rail operations, track, signaling, and things like that.
I know sometimes I go off of script here. And if I do that and it's a question you can't or shouldn't answer, please let me know. But I'm also curious about, just everyday riders. How do they do? I mean, do they communicate with you? Do you all do they serve on the commission? What is the role of the actual consumer of transportation or of Metro? How do you get or hear from them?
Yeah, we really love to hear from riders when they see a safety concern or anything like that. There have been a number of instances where, because riders have reached out to us either via email, safetyconcerns@wmsc.gov, on Twitter, which I know flashed up on the screen earlier, Twitter at Metrorail Safety, Instagram at Metrorail Safety, or Facebook, where people have reached out to us or are just regular monitoring of social media. We've identified things that Metro otherwise would not have identified and investigated and reported, so that we could, make sure that they come up with ways to prevent it and mitigate that risk in the future. So anytime a rider wants to reach out to us and say, hey, I saw this, I think it's a safety issue in the rail system, we respond. Sometimes, usually it'll be me. I'm happy to talk to you. And that does help us and help Metro, because we pass those things along once we look into them to Metro to make sure that these things are addressed. Now, sometimes, again, people reach out with things that really aren't our responsibility exactly, but we still try to help you find the right place to get to, so that it can be addressed.
That's fantastic. That's wonderful. It's good to know. So everybody has had all eyes on Capitol Hill. This infrastructure bill part is passed. The other part seems as though it made a little bit of headway today. How will this bill impact Metro as far as its safety plan is concerned?
Yeah, so just to remind everyone again, we're independent of Metro. We're not part of Metro, so we are not going to decide what Metro specifically does with any of the things it gets out of the bill. We do conduct oversight, though, including of their safety certification, which makes sure that when they're putting new things into service, if they follow this process, it eliminates or identifies ways to mitigate risk before it goes in. So right now, the biggest thing people might have heard of is Silver Line Phase 2 in Virginia, the extension to Dulles Airport. So we have oversight, but Metro is carrying out that safety certification process. There are some aspects of the bill that include some additional federal grant funding for agencies like ours, state safety oversight agencies, and that will help us continue to do our work and hopefully continue to help do what we need to do to keep Metro as safe as possible for everybody who is riding around the region.
If you could rank Metro safety, and I know you'd be biased, so you probably say number one, but I don't know if it is ranked. Is Metro safety ranked among other transportation systems around the country? And do you know where we are in that ranking?
So the Metrorail Safety Commission, us as an independent group, we're one of 31 state safety oversight agencies across the country. We're extremely unique in our independence and our transparency. So we're very proud of that, as far as, making sure that everyone is clear on what's going on and things like that. As far as Metro's performance itself, it's really hard to compare transit agencies. Everyone is different. Even if you just think about other cities you might have been in, just look at the trains, look at everything. It's not the same. So it's really hard to compare different transit agencies across the country.
Yeah, and ours is a pretty young system still, right?
Yeah, just over 40 years old compared to, more than 100 years old in places like New York and Boston. But each of those things bring different benefits and different challenges in terms of what systems are there or how they were designed and things like that.
Right. It's just one of those things where, you go to another city, you ride, and then you start comparing. And that's just, I guess, a natural thing that we do as transportation riders. But I want to thank you, Max, for being with us. Is there anything you need to share that I didn't ask that you think our viewers need to know about?
Obviously, the biggest questions we've been getting lately are about the 7000 series cars and our order that keeps them out of service at the moment, because that has unfortunately meant, much longer waits for trains for everyone. Obviously, we're prioritizing safety here. We understand the impact from riders. We're all riders ourselves. But we are working with Metro. As I said, we talk to Metro all the time. Metro has to develop a plan and present a plan to us that will provide for the safe restoration of service of these cars. And we hope that they are able to identify and do that soon, but it will happen when safety dictates. So unfortunately, we don't have a timeline, which I know what everyone wants.
That was my next question. I mean, do they not only a timeline, but do they have a deadline? But you're giving them the time that it takes to come up with that response.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Okay. All right, Max, thank you so much for joining us. We'll look forward to having you back sometime, talk a little bit more about safety, and hopefully it'll be a good story.
Hopefully. We always hope for that.
All righty. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where do you come to get